many know that one can pursue career as wildlife veterinary doctor. In the same way, one will not be aware of the challenges, opportunities and the learning involved in it. Dr. Arun was ready to give us more information regarding the same.
Hi, there are many challenges and opportunities in the practice of wildlife veterinary care, and many would not understand completely. And whatever the experiences I had in the past 20 years, I would like to show and throw some light on some of those points and how to get over the challenges and take up a lot of opportunities to improve and make the wildlife veterinary practice successful. Knowledge sharing and dissemination of knowledge among the field veterinarians, especially in the field of wildlife veterinary practice, is definitely needs to be addressed. I wouldn't say that there is less knowledge sharing, but I can strongly believe that we need to improvise on that. And there is no common platform. Even if there is a platform, we may not have optimal amount of data to prove ourselves that these are all the things are effectively carried out in the field in a very challenging situation. So that is when we have to respect the senior wildlife vets who has got definitely experienced in a lot of challenging field scenarios, and it needs to be disseminated to the younger generation wildlife veterinarians so that they don't need to again scratch from the beginning, or they don't need to start from the scratch, or they don't need to invent the wheel again. So this is the important aspect which I would like to cover extensively, but due to the paucity of time, we will just give very important point, and it is one of the very major area that dissemination of knowledge among the veterinarians who has experienced needs to be done on a very methodical and scientific way, so that the younger generation will always take advantage and the ultimate aim of a better conservation will be achieved successfully. When I mentioned about the collaborative approach, it is not only with multidisciplinary approach of the vet with different stakeholders, it also involves the family life part, because as we all know that we face a lot of challenges balancing the family as well as this field trips or even field work. When a wildlife vet goes out for any kind of conflict management situations or even any rescue operations, or with respect to any distressed animal rescue or rehabilitation, it may not happen in a day or in a day or two. So it always takes more time, depends on the situation, and sometimes it may go beyond a week. So at such point of time, it is important for a wildlife veterinarian to know and do better people skill. Only then it can be managed efficiently without upsetting the family life or even the social life of a wildlife veterinarian. I feel recognition for a wildlife veterinarian is also important. We can always encounter the position is always transferable, and once in 2 years or 3 years they'll be keep shuttling between the department as well as the wildlife practice. So that also a kind of challenge we as wildlife vets always face, and that also makes the animal on the other side get some kind of disadvantages, and this kind of dissemination or even accumulation of the data is always getting distracted or even disturbed by this continuity of this wildlife veterinarian's position. So keeping that in mind, better to have a better documentation effort and ensure that these things are at least published in a very scientific way in order to make the younger generation more successful in the wildlife practice. And we are not going to keep anything conserved within us. It is always easier and also beneficial for the wildlife community and the wildlife vets to ensure that they are making this in a success way. In India, several institutes and veterinary universities are offering postgraduate program in wildlife science or wildlife medicine. So after graduation program, that is B.V.Sc, one can always take up this master's program in either direct veterinary wildlife subjects or elective courses which can also be considered into wildlife management and practices. The very important institutes I would like to narrate, one is Wildlife Institute of India in Dehradun, Tanuvas, Madras Veterinary College, Kerala Veterinary University in Pukot, and Assam Agricultural University, and Karnataka, Bidar University is also offering wildlife veterinary medicine course after graduation, and other universities like in Pondicherry and in also Guwahati and Maharashtra Animal and Fisheries universities are also offering elective courses. As I already mentioned, after the graduation program you can take up any of these elective courses, and your subject or even dissertation of interest should be towards either captive or wild animals. Accordingly, the permission will be issued, and then you can definitely take up the courses in elective subjects involving any of these wild animals, whether it is captive or wild or free-ranging animals, and you can do your master's or even dissertation program, and you can get into this wildlife veterinary practice easily. I would like to throw some light on hands-on practices for wildlife veterinarians in our country, especially because it is very essential for them to take care of these species in the field with a lot of challenges in front of them, because each species has got difference of their behavior and the size and even also their temperament in addition to their geographical location. So it is very important for any wildlife veterinarian, or if someone wants to become a very good successful wildlife veterinarian, it always needs a lot of skills with respect to their handling and behavioral understanding, chemical immobilization, or even treating them for smaller or even bigger injuries. Even if it comes to a simple bandage, it is very difficult to achieve with respect to any wild animals. So in my opinion, any veterinarian would like to do excel in the field of wildlife veterinary practice has to have a lot of hands-on training, which is always offered by different departmental organizations or even non-governmental organizations, rehabilitation centers, and even in protected areas of different state forest department always encourages the veterinarians to come forward to do voluntary veterinary services. So with these kind of hands-on practices, one can always have enough confidence and improve their practical skills, because each and every wildlife veterinarian has to work in a different kind of environment, different ecosystem, different species. I always remember saying, jack of all trade and master in none. This is again very crucial with respect to wildlife diseases or even handling these wild animals in the free ranging or in captive conditions. So when a vet is definitely involving himself a lot for some specific species, then automatically the data collected from individual species or the particular species, whether it is a larger animal or a smaller animal like birds or reptiles, it gives immense knowledge to that particular species, and it is always beneficial for the conservation of that particular species. So I believe always the hands-on practices, even if it is reptiles or birds, or from larger megafauna to varies extensively with respect to the big cats, because they are very elusive and it is difficult to judge the body weight. So any wildlife veterinarian is the primary concept of doing any sedation or even an anesthetic procedures. They have to assess or estimate the body weight of the animal before they get into the actual sedation or even immobilization procedure. So in all these areas, if any veterinarian going for a hands-on practice will always benefit them. When the actual real-time situation happens, it will be very less stressful for the veterinarians as well as the animal who is getting this tranquilization or even any kind of intervention with respect to their health aspects. So these all aspects covers in multiple hands-on practices, whether it is in a protected area or in a rehabilitation center or in a research and conservation education centers. It will be always helpful for the vets, whether it is sample collection to even bandaging the wound or even dressing any simple injuries or even fracture management by doing surgical procedures, all leads to good hands-on experience before they get into the actual scenario. The other important aspect of this is they will have a different environment, and it is almost like a non-clinical situation where you will not have any hospital or clinic facilities to improve or utilize all the fancy diagnostic equipments or even any kind of modernized procedures, whether it is in a free-ranging area or in a kind of protected area situation. So the veterinarian has to have enough of hands-on practice so that he can calmly manage the situation without having any kind of challenges. That definitely benefits both the animal as well as the veterinarians in the field. We as wildlife veterinarians always face a lot of challenging areas in the field of wildlife veterinary practices. To overcome that, we should always think of continuing education and educational programs for capacity building for these wildlife veterinarians play a paramount role in the field of successful wildlife veterinary practice. So there are multiple areas and avenues to get into good hands-on and also this capacity building in order to improve the skill set of the wildlife veterinarians so that the challenges will always be faced very smoothly and successfully. One of the important areas is keeping up with evolving diseases and emerging diseases. As we all know that there are a lot of threats from the non-wild areas to the wildlife population, the wild animal population. So whether it is through climate or through a lot of emerging diseases or infectious diseases like avian influenza or rabies, tuberculosis, and also this canine distemper, such kind of infectious diseases always pose threat to the wildlife population in the free-ranging area. So a lot of diagnostic protocols, because when we talk about this free-ranging wild animal conservation, it always needs a lot of non-invasive sample collection, non-invasive ways of dealing with diagnosis or even to give improved version of their health or even to administer medications or drugs is very useful if the veterinarians always get in pace with an emerging advancement in the technologies and dealing with these diseases also in a lot of conservation activities in the field. Even when it comes to anesthetic protocols, we know that multiple drug combinations are available and there are new drugs evolving always, whether it is within the country or outside the country. It is important for the wildlife veterinarian to always keep their knowledge updated so that we will always be beneficial to the wild animal which we are dealing with. On top of it, these advancement always reduces the welfare concerns when we deal with this free-ranging animal. Another important aspect is handling the wild animals and also enhancing the skills for handling the wild animal is also an important area of this capacity building. Whether it comes to your traditional clinical setups or non-availability of traditional clinical setup, the wildlife vets always works in a challenging environment. So it is important for each and every wildlife veterinarian who is in the field has to improve their capacity or even this continuing education programs with respect to this animal handling technologies, which also improves the safety of both the animal as well as the veterinarian working with the species. And the other important aspect is the conservation medicine and the ecosystem health. so which is usually known as the One Health concept, which involves animal health, the ecosystem health, and the human health. So there is a good interdisciplinary interaction is important when we talk about this One Health, and this is the upcoming word and also a important aspect of this health concept globally. So when we talk about this One Health, it is important for the veterinarians to ensure that he is having up-to-date knowledge about the ecosystem health as well as the common problems prevails in the human medicine section, and that improves his interdisciplinary action or the collaboration between multiple departments, so that he can have an hands-on experience with different disciplinary aspects and then have a successful collaboration to enhance his knowledge and also the skill in the field of wildlife veterinary practice. Now I would like to share something about capacity building and continuing education programs, which is very essential for any professionals. When it comes to wildlife veterinarians, it is at most important area for the wildlife vets to improve their skill set on continuing education programs, as well as the awareness about the new technologies and emerging developments happening in the field of wildlife veterinary medicine. If you are talking about the technical skills, there are multiple areas that the wildlife veterinary practice is evolving constantly. When it comes to disease diagnosis or handling or restraining of animals, there are multiple areas that the sciences keep developing, and one should always keep up the pace with the advancements so that it will be easier and practically beneficial for the wild animals whichever we are dealing with. The skill set is not only to ensure the technical skill developments, but also I feel it is necessary for a wildlife vet to give importance to the people skill as well, because it's a multidisciplinary activity, and the wildlife veterinarian should always be in collaboration with different stakeholders like ornithologist, veterinary pathologist, sociologist, and also about the biological importance, and the behavioralist and a conservationist. So it's a kind of multimodal aspect, and then he should develop a lot of patience and importance towards various skill sets in order to give good welfare and ethical way of dealing with wild animals in the field. Keeping up the evolving diseases is another important area of the skill set of wildlife veterinarians. As we all know, wildlife has got a lot of threat in different angles. As we were already discussing about the One Health concept, it is important to understand the social issues and also the ecosystem health in addition to human health. So this forms a nice area of One Health, and every wildlife veterinarian should give a lot of importance to this One Health aspect, because that is going to approach the holistic way of dealing with wild animals and for the sustainability of the universe or even the Mother Earth. Addressing human-animal conflict is also one of the important point comes under this continuing education program, because it is keep on evolving, and we should understand what is the current scenario of this human-wildlife conflict, or now the term is not much familiarized. We have to use a term human-animal interface. So whatever you term it as, it's again both a positive and negative interaction between this wild animal and people. In these aspects, the wildlife veterinarian should always know the pressure existing when we are dealing with this conflict situation, and the amount of behavioral changes expected from an species is also a paramount important, because it is constantly evolving. Though they are trying to adapt themselves for the current scenario of the exploding human population and a lot of consumerism, and then a lot of developmental programs and deforestation, or whether it is a fragmentation and disturbance in the corridor of megafauna, so whatever it may be. But the current scenario always changes, so keeping the updated information by a wildlife veterinarian is also important, and this directly impacts on the handling, or even whether it is a physical restrainment or even a chemical immobilization of these animals changes, and the amount of stress both the people as well as the animal encounters in such kind of situations needs a constant improvement in their understanding. So it is important to understand the growing concept of human animal interface everywhere, all over the country, needs to be addressed very safely in order to handle them very ethically. And so addressing the human wildlife conflict is very important with respect to the evolving human population and the difference of the behavior in each species when they are trying to adapt themselves for the environment, or even this pressure when they are feeling in the free ranging area or near the human habitat. Is always important for any wildlife vet to understand the human animal conflict situations and managing that very efficiently and also ethically without compromising any welfare of this species. Responding to climate change impact on wildlife health is another important topic which I would like to throw some light on. The aspects of climate change towards all these wild animal behavior is an emerging concept, and we have encountered practically several species has come up with a kind of different evolvement because of this human pressure in and around their habitat. And as we all know that many of these wild animals, out of human pressure, they always stray out of the forest, and they are very much dwelling near the human developments or human habitat. Though once upon a time it was their habitat, but presently it is our habitat, and then they slowly come out of it for various reasons. And in the recent past we had encountered, even in one part of our country, these animals are really depending on human food waste, especially the kitchen waste, and they are coming out of this forest and they start showing some kind of difference of their behavior, like high carbohydrate diet or even sometimes unhealthy diets leads to a lot of health issues. And when we talk about all these health issues, not only its impact there directly on their health aspects, but also a lot of behavioral and also their social and society related. I mean, this interspecies or intraspecies relationship is literally getting disturbed. For example, their hibernation will also get disturbed, and their metabolic rate changes, and instead of a regular cyclical reproductive rhythm, it gets into a kind of erratic reproductive status, or even sometimes the young ones taking care by the mother, or even sometimes their hibernation disturbs the whole scenario of the species behavior, and it interrupts with a lot of other social interaction with the other species within the same habitat. So this needs to be addressed primarily by a veterinarian by collecting a lot of samples. When it comes to sample, then again the continuing education programs and hands-on will always help to take non-invasive samples, help to make enough of database so that the species conservation will be very effective and the welfare is always addressed appropriately. Enabling effective disease surveillance and reporting the same is also a very important skill set of wildlife veterinarian. It is not only about enabling the skill set, and reporting makes major difference, because many a times we don't have enough database to pursue some of those problems in a kind of coordinated way. It is important, and as we all know that we are trying to do it, but there are a lot of challenges in the field, like lack of manpower or lack of technology or lack of storing capabilities or platform which we can share all those challenging experiences in a very scientific way. Only then we can come out of all these challenges and ensure that this cumulative effect of all these vets and also advancement in our career will always happen, and all the threats with respect to the diseases or even disorders in this wildlife and the emerging diseases for these wild animals will always be addressed by the veterinarian in the field, and also in any kind of faculties or involved in wildlife research and management. Vet volunteering is one of the important topic of my interest. I would like to share some of my personal experiences and expectations from the wildlife veterinarians who is really interested in their long-term career interest in this field. Needs a lot of volunteering opportunities, and knowledge from the volunteering is always important. Even in national parks and sanctuaries, sometimes the government, the forest department always expect veterinarians to come and help the department in various aspects. Sometimes whether it is disease surveillance or sometimes even making their census report, and many a times for necropsy procedures, and to document a lot of kind of illegal trades and sometimes poaching aspects needs some kind of species identification by the wildlife veterinarian. So any wildlife interested vets can always help, especially in Assam's Kaziranga and in different projects like Chambal National Sanctuary Project, and even in Periyar Tiger Reserve in Kerala and Mudumalai in Tamil Nadu. So there are multiple departments of the state always expects a wildlife veterinarian to come and volunteer them whenever they are in need of veterinary service. The other area a wildlife veterinarian can volunteer is in any wildlife rehabilitation centers, where there are a lot of injured and distressed animals are housed for a temporary period or for lifetime care facilities. It is a very interesting area. One can easily understand the welfare and other aspects of the injured or even distressed animal in the rehabilitation center. Whether it comes to a minor first aid treatment to major surgeries, it is always a veterinarian's job to ensure that their welfare is definitely addressed appropriately. And a lot of organizations like Center for Wildlife Rehabilitation and also Wildlife SOS has got a lot of rehabilitation centers for sloth bears, elephants, leopards, and snakes and birds. So these areas are really a platform for the wildlife vet to get into a lot of hands-on skills. Zoos and wildlife rescue centers are also another good area or platform where wildlife veterinarians can always take up their volunteering programs, and especially for disease diagnosis and nutritional advices and enrichment programs, and also a lot of enclosure and management related activities can also be a major part of zoo and wildlife veterinarians area, and they can always develop that skills. And along with that, a lot of conservation organizations like even Wildlife SOS, IFA, and Wildlife WWF and Wildlife Trust of India. So there are multiple organizations within the country does a lot of excellent conservation activities, and whenever they are offering for any volunteering position, it is important for the volunteer programs, because that gives a lot of hands-on and also rugged area of volunteering experience when they are dealing with a lot of conservation organizations. Wildlife translocation and anti-poaching is also one area wildlife veterinarian can always extend their skill set. And organizations like WCCB, Wildlife Crime Control Bureau, also takes a lot of volunteers in order to deal and address all these kind of anti-poaching related aspects. And the wildlife veterinarian can always involve himself to identify the wild animal products or even sometimes the body parts, and to create awareness programs like creating brochures and information bulletins with respect to identification of fake or even natural original animal parts with respect to wildlife. And also it gives a lot of information about the myth prevailing in the community and the myth with respect to a lot of wildlife species and their threats involved because of the myth. Marine and Aquatic Animal Rescue Center is also another area wildlife veterinarian can always volunteer, because as we all know that we are very much involved and then gathered information about terrestrial wildlife, but when it comes to marine wildlife, it is always a challenging stuff. So organizations like Tree Foundation Chennai can always take volunteers and then do a lot of work when the animals are stranded or injured and they were come to the seashores. Then it is always easier for the wildlife veterinarians to go and gather a lot of information, documenting morphometries and also sample collection and necropsy procedures in order to gather more information and help the organization to do a lot of wildlife marine veterinary interventions. Even in some institutes and universities offers veterinary volunteering programs. For example, Wildlife Institute of India, even SACON, Salim Ali Institute of Ornithology and Natural History also takes up veterinary volunteers for data collection and also documentation of the research work when it comes to the lower funded projects. Rescue and rehabilitation of urban wildlife is also an area where wildlife veterinarians can always extend their skill sets, and these centers always rescue animals after injury or even sometimes dog bite injuries or even accidents, constructions, or even the equipment based injuries of monkeys or birds, any other reptiles in and around the urban area. Is also a very important area where wildlife vets can always take advantage of and extend all their skills with respect to involving a lot of diagnostic tools like X-rays and the field ultrasonography missions and pulse oximeter. So there are a lot of field tools which are going to give you a very beautiful set of data, and those things will definitely improve the knowledge of wildlife veterinarian in order to give them a very nice welfare and treatment procedures and set up a lot of protocols for dealing with these rescued urban wildlife. Organizations like Rescue in Pune and Fauna Police in Hyderabad, and even in People for Animals in Bangalore and Blue Cross. So in many major cities, good conservation organizations are helping, including Wildlife SOS in Delhi NCR has got very good urban rescue programs and action teams which needs very quick response whenever they get a call, and the program of rehabilitation and how long they can do this rehabilitation, how quickly they can do this rehabilitation program with respect to soft release or hard release. All those things are really important for any wildlife veterinarian to understand and involve themselves to improve such kind of programs to enhance their knowledge. Wildlife vets can even volunteer for elephant rehabilitation or even large mammal or megafauna projects all over the country, especially with respect to elephants and even rhinos. There are opportunities in both in Wildlife SOS or even in ANCF. They sometimes requires vet volunteers to ensure the treatment protocols and other data collection and documentation of these aspects are covered. to conclude this entire vet volunteering program, what I would like to pinpoint is the skill set improvement and also networking by this wildlife veterinarians are paramount important, so that the specialized skill can be improved. Even with respect to dental surgeries, for example, in wildlife SOS they always give volunteer program with wildlife veterinarians, and acupuncture therapy in wildlife veterinary practice. So all those specialized skills set can also be gathered or acquired when wildlife vets are involved in such kind of volunteer programs. So irrespective of their number of days or even the geographical location, the vet should come forward to take up a lot of volunteer programs in order to serve these conservation programs successfully and efficiently.
This information will definitely help a lot of youngsters who wish to serve the wildlife as a doctor. That's it for now. Keep following us to get more information in the coming episodes. Until then, take care. Bye-bye.